Good evening. Welcome to the monthly meeting of the Lynbrook Board of Education for December 11th. If we could all please rise. Mr. Pileski will lead us in the pledge. For roll call, all are present except for Mrs. Danino, who has a parent-teacher conference, and if she finishes early, she'll get here. Also want to thank the high school screen quartet for their performing this evening. We appreciate it. Eric Riley, Hayden Rosa, Kathleen Couteau, and Mrs. Underhill. Thank you for that excellent performance. Need approval of the minutes. If there are no changes, may I have a motion to accept the minutes of November 13th monthly meeting. Mr. Murray was not present, can't vote. Ms. Wesley, second. Mr. Lunar, all in favor? Mr. Kunz, Art Gallery? What do you say?
The Burns-Siderman Gallery is proud to present the Winter Gala Festival of the Arts show. This show features an extraordinary collection of artworks created by Lynbrook High School students in grades 9 through 12. This exhibition showcases the incredible range of talent and creativity found within our art program, featuring works from introductory courses such as studio art and digital design to our most advanced classes, including AP art and portfolio preparation. The artwork on display highlights a variety of drawing and painting mediums as well as digital work. Throughout their creative journeys, our students have learned and applied numerous artistic techniques, embracing the principles of observation, self-expression, creativity, and experimentation. Each piece represents a unique voice and vision, a testament to the dedication and hard work of our young artists. Please take a moment to appreciate the remarkable talents of Lynbrook High School's art students. Their passion and commitment to their craft is truly inspiring. On behalf of the Burns-Siderman Gallery, I would like to wish everyone the happiest of holidays and a healthy, joyful New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kunz. Dr. Lynch, presentations?
Thank you very much, Mr. Belmont. So tonight we're going to honor a lot of kids, which is the right thing to do. We're a school, which is a great thing. So first we're going to start off with our Horizon Award winnees. As you know, Horizon is our award-winning high school newspaper, and these awards were given for last year's performance, so some of the kids have moved on to college, so we'll also call them out, and then some of the kids are here tonight to pick up their T-shirts. So, best overall newspaper, silver, went to the Horizon staff. Best artwork portfolio, gold, to Jasmine Ostroff, LHS 24. Best graphic illustration portfolio, bronze award to Sage Rolnick. Best editorial, gold award to Kerry Cullen, LHS 24. Best editorial, silver, to Gianna Longo. Best editorial, honorable mention to Stacy Kravitsky. Best sports coverage and best sports story, 2 separate awards, bronze to Sean Strohoffer. Best sports story, bronze award to Alexis Rayner, LHS 24. Best sports story, honorable mention to Ella Carroll. Best written, good, absolutely. Best written work in a newspaper, bronze award to Madeline Malinka, LHS 24. Best written work in a newspaper, honorable mention to Cassandra Levinson. Best feature story, silver award to Emily Franklin. And best graphic illustration, silver award to Naomi Rivera. Well done. You're right. Have you ever seen me throw? You guys would be ashamed of me. We got our Horizon folks to come up? Okay, so it is December, and it is the season of giving. So we're going to devote the rest of this this time to recognizing kids. One of our themes this year, the winter newsletter will literally be in your hands within the next week or so. It's going to get mailed out, and the theme of it is Owl Cares. And one of the things I always tell this community, what we do right and what distinguishes us from other folks is the fact that, hello, Mrs. Danino, is that we are doing a lot of charitable work. So we're going to first introduce Mr. Kunz, who's going to give us through some of the stuff that happened through Night of the Pumpkins and your gifted program. So, and I know you're going to have some folks present for us.
I'm going to pass the microphone off to our NAHS presidents, Olivia Pileski and Carolina Villadiego. Thank you.
Hi. Lynbrook High School's National Art Honor Society held its annual Night of the Pumpkins event on Saturday, October 19th, bringing the community together to celebrate the season while raising $1,500 in support of Island Harvest, a local organization dedicated to fighting hunger on Long Island through food distribution, educational programs, and advocacy. This year's event featured over 200 hand-carved jack-o'-lanterns that illuminated the evening with creative designs crafted by NHS members. Families and community members enjoyed a range of festive activities, including face painting, games, and activities for all, making it a night of Halloween fun for all ages. Lynbrook High School extends its gratitude to everyone who contributed to making Night of the Pumpkins a huge success.
Over the month of November, the Lynbrook High School National Art Honor Society held gifted NAHS's yearly online art auction. This year's auction featured stunning fall landscapes painted by over 30 talented NAHS members. Each artwork captured the beauty of autumn, showcasing vibrant colors and unique perspectives. Funds raised from the auction went towards purchasing Target gift cards, which will be distributed to Lynbrook families in need during the holiday season. This initiative not only highlighted the creativity of our members, but also worked towards strengthening our community, ensuring everyone can enjoy a brighter holiday. The NHS is proud to announce that we raised over $1,300. Thank you, everyone, for your support.
Thank you very much. And then we have our Ever Giving Key Club. So from September 25th to 29th, the Key Club held its first Double Good Popcorn fundraiser for the new year. In just 4 days, they were able to sell $45,218 in popcorn to 782 performers. That's a lot of popcorn, with over $22,500 going to several charities. Double Good allows our club to receive half of these earnings, all of which support 13 local charities. They want to thank everyone who helped us raise the funds for the different charities, and they can't wait for the next one in February. Furthermore, throughout October and November, the LHS Key Club sold merchandise to support Hewlett House. Hewlett House is an organization run by five-time cancer survivor and inspiration to all, Jerry Barish, who works to support cancer patients at every stage of treatment and to provide services and care. LHS Key Club sold numerous merchandise and products such as breast cancer awareness socks, T-shirts, and bracelets during all the lunch periods in the last few weeks. They're proud to support the Hewlett House and looks forward to working with them again in the future. Thank you very much, Key Club. Dr. T, you're all good? Nothing? I got the approval by Dr. T, so that's all right. All right, and then also what makes our athletes special is that they're not just tough on the field, they're also kind in the heart. So that's pretty good there, right? They like that? Was that pretty good? So here's what our sports teams did, and I think we see some checks out there, and we might have some stuff. You guys will tell me what we're supposed to do next. So the boys and girls soccer teams will be presenting a check tonight to Tracy Schmidt, a Lynbrook alum, and the Ronald McDonald House Charity of the New York metro area in the amount of $2,600 as a result of the philanthropic efforts through the season from Soccer Day. And I think the boys and girls soccer team here, and we have a check, and we want to come up and give it a presentation. Okay, good. Yeah.
We're just gonna.
I understand. Wow. That was 2,800.
Okay, everyone, can I get one here? Ready? I took a bunch. Good job.
Thank you very much. And the football program also raised funds and are donating it to Tunnel to Towers Foundation through their fundraising efforts at their Salute to Service game on on the 14th of September. It was a really great occasion. We honored Lynbrook alum, class of 81, Commissioner of Police of Nassau County, Pat Ryder, was there, and he came to toss out the coin. It was just a great event. So I think you guys have a check to give to Tunnels to Towers, all right? All right, awesome. And is anyone from Tunnels to Towers here, or just? Okay, well, that's good. Thanks. All right. And then the JV and varsity girls volleyball team raised money from their Dig Pink game on October the 10th. After the game's fundraising effort, the team donated over $500 to the Slide Out Foundation, which helps women with advanced metastatic breast cancer. Members of the team are here and also should come up to get recognized. And again, that is just such a great tradition that I think all our teams are doing something now to really think of others and to not just, it just makes us really, really proud. So we thank you for everything that you're doing. We're also proud of you for being conference champs. So the following teams are going to be recognized. So the girls varsity tennis team, congratulations to them on their conference championship title. The Lady Owls finished 12-2 overall, making them the Conference 2B champions. Captains Charlie Travis and Kelsey Roth both went undefeated on their first and second singles positions, and that is not an easy task. We also had 9 girls that received all division honors, winning 75% more of their matches. So congratulations to Charlie, Kelsey, Addison Cooper on their all-conference honors. Are they here? Anybody? Are there any members present?
Shari,
Yeah,
Shari, can you come up,
I
Shari?
thought I saw Shari. Yep. Oh. Do you want- The floor will recognize Mrs. Bose. They raised money too. Yes. Yes. Great.
Coach Bose, is that your Coach Bose?
And
Is that-
varsity
is-
boys volleyball.
Jump
So this is really, it is the second year of their existence. And the volleyball team won the conference championship, finishing with a 13-3 record. They qualified for the playoffs and won their first-round playoff game. The team had a number of postseason accolades, including all-conference players Braden Rogan and Andrew Malinka. Joe Woods took home an All-County and Conference Player of the Year honors, and the Unsung Hero Award went to Lynx Genovia, while Brady Rogan was named a Scholar Athlete. Congratulations. And you're coming up for pictures, too. All right, we thank all the students, all their coaches, and just you make us really proud in all that you do. And back to you, Mr. Belmont.
Before we get on with the rest of the meeting, we will allow those students and their family members, you could depart, go back to your studying before we move on. Mr. Dichter, you can stay. We know you like the board meetings. The rest of you, you're free to go. Mr. Cornicello, are you going to come up to the front row? Not to Just the front row at this point, please. Fill in the space. Please fill in the space, Ms. Gonzalez. I didn't know you even owned the tie. So, moving on with the meeting. Student board member. At a previous meeting, we discussed that there's a new law that goes into effect this summer requiring school districts to establish a procedure to designate one high school student as a non-voting member of the Board of Education. While the board had been considering doing that, some of Mr. Cornicello's students had asked him if they could present to the board and in essence pitch us on their ideas of how we should make that selection process. So hopefully you have some students and not Mr. Cornicello who's going to be doing that presentation for us. Oh. Obviously not a razor or a scissor. Well, you know I don't shave.
Billy, look in the mirror.
Thank you so much for giving me us the opportunity to present in front of all of you. Oh, thank you. My wife came back from the October board meeting and she said, this is something you're going to have your kids do. This is a great idea for your kids to be engaged in civics.
So she was at the October meeting.
She's at every meeting. Yeah.
You were not in the October.
I was
I'm just
watching.
clarifying.
Someone was home with the kids.
You were watching us on live stream, I
was.
understand. Yeah.
10s, 20s on YouTube right now. All right. So I brought it up to my 6 classes. I said, this is something I think, what do you think? And they jumped at it. They jumped. They said, this is a great opportunity to pick who the leader should be in Lynbrook High School. You know, we came up with some criteria. We threw a lot of ideas out there, some good, some others not as good. But what we want to show you today is just our plan. You know, if we look forward to hearing your feedback, thank you again. You know, if you're interested in it, without further ado, I have Cooper Shore, I have Chloe Romig, Kelsey Roth, and Katie Gottlieb here. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to talk about the background and the criteria for this idea. So Governor Hochul had an idea that there should be a student on the Board of Education every single year. So when Mr. Cornicello told us about this idea, we really loved it, and we thought it would be a great way for a student's voice to be heard throughout the district. So as we talked, we met Tuesday morning to come up with some ideas, and we decided that it should be a high school junior on the board. And the reason why we thought that was, if I was going to be honest, a senior isn't always like locked in on school at this point because we're looking into the future a little bit more. So a high schooler definitely would be way more committed than a senior. And also the high school junior, when he becomes a senior, then the next junior to come in and take his spot, the senior could be a mentor for him and definitely show him the ropes. If he has any questions, problems, or anything wrong, then he could always go to that senior for help.
So our first step would be to get word out about this position. So AP Government students would go into the sophomore social study classes and generate interest and answer any questions that the sophomore students have. And we want to emphasize that it is a big commitment, and this isn't something they should take lightly. And we are hoping to generate interest in January and have students complete the application by the first Monday after February 28th.
So the next step of the nomination process after students nominate themselves would be for students to submit a written application, which would include a resume as well as a written portion. And this would be reviewed by AP Government students blindly. We didn't want it to be where the students knew who the person was and it wasn't more of a popularity contest where they were picking the person based on the actual application. And after the students review this, they move on to the next step.
Next, in step 3, a board of AP Government students will pick the top 5 students based on their written portion submissions. These selected students will then meet with an interview committee consisting of students and teachers so that we have a chance to meet the students on a one-on-one basis. Specifically, we wanted the applicants to be able to speak in front of a group of people, in this case also adults, and although there isn't much guidance as to what the role of the student representative will be, we want to ensure that we get the best possible applicant in front of the Board of Education. And then finally, for step 4, the top 2 to 3 students will be brought before the Board of Education for a final interview. This will allow the Board of Education to meet the students and get to know them and be able to ask some questions. We would like to wrap up this whole process around April/May time to give the incoming student an opportunity to attend a Board of Education meeting, get their feet wet, and see what the role truly entails.
So that's our plan. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer.
Process would be for a sophomore, and then in May or June, the process would conclude, so they finish their sophomore year knowing they would be the one to go into their junior year. What are some, if I could talk to the students, Mr. Corner, I appreciate it. Thank you. Mr. Shaw, start with you. You did a good job with the pickleball tournament. So any one of you, what would be some of the considerations you would have for the application? What would be what you'd want, what are you looking to include in that? What would be the questions? What would the application process be?
Well, I would definitely ask them, like, what do they want to have done in this school, and what do they think the students want? And I think that this is more of a chance for the students to be able to have a voice. And I think that sometimes they don't always get that opportunity. So I think I'll definitely ask them that and probably put them on the spot a lot with the interview. I definitely want to see if someone asked them a question, would they be able to respond right away and not have to think about it that much? And that would definitely be what I think is the most important aspect of this.
Well, I guess you haven't come up with a written application yet, but obviously I
No,
see the
not
gist
yet.
of where you're going. And then the pool of applicants that you would have available to do this would be only those students in your government class?
Yeah, right? No?
No, it's all sophomores.
Oh, yeah, all sophomores, but only the AP Gov students would be looking over everything and interviewing them.
That's all the questions I have. Any other board members?
So the AP Gov students would be actually overseeing the process and then making it available to all the sophomore students by going into the social studies class, because every sophomore has to be in some social studies class.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, Mr. Cornicello said that he would go into their classes and present the idea to all of them.
So, look, I mean, I think it's a phenomenal proposal. You know, we all struggled with this, how to come up with a good way to do this, because I think it was Kelsey who said you don't want to have the same kids, or you don't want to always pick the same kids. And that's really, that was a concern we struggled with up here, is how do you get other kids who may not be the kids who tend to be the most popular kid or the most outspoken kid? And I think the way you guys set this up, you came up with a really elegant solution to it. I mean, you know, obviously there's logistics that may have to tweak and finalize, you know, the questionnaire, what does it look like? But the concept and the framework looks really good to me, because we didn't come up with anything. You know, granted, we haven't spoken about it other than at one meeting, but this is really good. I'm impressed by this.
Thank you.
I would just like to say we did come up with some ideas. None of them were nearly as good as this. This is significantly better than anything we came up with. So thank you guys very much for taking the initiative behind your fearless leader over here. So, you know, we do appreciate it. And I personally would love to see this put into effect.
Yeah,
And if you
me
guys
too.
could, you know, come up with some, this is like the big picture. If you can come up with some details on, like maybe an application process, maybe like an interview process, like Mr. Belmont was saying, that would be great. So if you were to, like, I mean, if you guys haven't figured it out yet, we're trying to push this off on you, because we know you'll do a better job than we will. So
Well, they already have.
Keep working, keep working.
Hi, thank you.
Great job.
I mean, to echo my colleagues, this is why we put things in the hands of kids, because you have infinitely better ideas than we do. You know what this means. It is so thorough. It really is. Just a couple of suggestions I'd bring back to your class as you continue working on this. You know, in addition to the application process, which I know you've thought about what might be in the application, I think it would be really powerful for there to be some sort of rubric or rating tool so that there's more objectivity when you go through those written applications, and have that you know, established ahead of time and share with the people who are applying so they know what you're looking for in a candidate. And I think as a board member, I'd like to just see that application before it goes into use. But based on this, I have every faith that this is going to be more powerful than anything we could have come up with.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Create a rubric. We talked about it throughout our process. Absolutely.
I think you guys came up with a great plan. My only suggestion, I do think it's great that you suggested the top 3 students come back to us for the final interview. I actually think it would be awesome if the students made the ultimate decision, because whoever you decide, they're really representing you. and it's your voice that's going to be up here. So I think it would be better to have, like, for the students to have the ultimate final decision. But, you know, that's just
Well, that's got to be, so that's
suggestion.
a pause
Yeah,
on
that's
where
just
they're
a-
going. So I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that. I think I'd rather have the three come to us and have those three go through that process. So we need to get consensus of that first.
We discussed that at length. We worried about it being doing a popularity contest between the top three, and then
Yeah, one of the things I liked about it is that when you get it down to 5, it's blind. I thought that was a really elegant feature to put in because it completely removes the popularity contest piece of it. Maybe my one suggestion would be then you do the interview process. Maybe the interview process should also be blind. And I guess it would have to remove students from the interview process, maybe have it go to central administration or to Mr. Sorosi or some other group. Just a thought. It's kind of the opposite of Tara's thought, so we're kind of in different directions, and there's different ways you guys could go with it. But I like the blind nature of it because it really does address that one issue, and it's an issue that people, you know, in any high school in America comes up. It's not unique to us here. So it's just a thought on it. But I think you guys are
I
heading
will
there.
say, if they do develop a very clear set of criteria, I don't think it has to be blind, because I think we have to trust the objectivity and the integrity of the people doing the interview process. And if they know what they're looking for, and they have, you know, debate about whether those candidates, like any interview process, and debate about which candidates best met that criteria, I agree with the blind and the reading, but I think after that, you want to feel the person, you want to, you know, face to face with that. And I agree with Mr. Belmont that ultimately, they're serving with us, and I think ultimately we need to have the final say.
So let's just clarify. One, I think we have a consensus from the board that we'd like to move forward with the idea that your group will begin to develop this process for us. Ms. Aragona has the idea of having it.
I was simply just saying, like, when, you know, the student board member, to me, they're representing the students. So ultimately, I felt it's the students' decision who they want to represent. Yes, they're giving us the top 3, but I guess also to, you know, some of us have students in the building and our kids who they might want to run, or their kids' friends, and it kind of takes that away from us, and the kids are making the decision of who's representing them, just like the community did for us.
So we still have
Actually,
that
Tara
issue.
raises do you want to go?
Well, so we have to clarify that one issue. So I would like them to bring us to 3, so we have to get a consensus before we give them instructions back. So
Yeah.
Ms. Aragona would like to have 1.
But Ms. Aragona does raise a good point, though, that there's a number of us sitting here that do have kids in the building, and it does create, so we don't like the popularity contest of what the kids picking or teachers picking or whatever. I could see the same criticism being lobbied against us, saying, oh, well, you know, Mr. Lunar and Ms. Aragona, you guys have children that are in the grade that's being run on right now. Maybe you should recuse yourselves. I don't have an answer, but it's something we should at least maybe.
Well, we have to give some direction. Well,
Yeah.
we will give you more direction on the final candidates, whether it be 1 or 3. The other thing we would need approval on is once you develop your actual written application, we would need to see that before you submit it to your students to go forward. Other than that, I think we have consensus of the board that you can begin your process and move forward. I mean, time frame goes pretty quickly after break when you get back in January. The idea would be for whether we interview 1 or 3, that would have to be done before the end of the school year. And we'll get back to you at a future meeting, and Mr. Cornell will follow up as to whether or not we want 1 or 3. We'll discuss that openly at another board meeting. You'll keep us updated on the process. We'll give you approval at the board meeting of the application once that's completed for you to utilize.
Just a question of the order in which things happen. Does the policy need to be written before we start the process, or can the process begin as we write the policy parallel?
I don't think the process has to be as specific to the fact that we could have the student committee do the selection for us, right? We don't have to be granular on that before they begin. Right. So the policy should indicate that process. Policy committee should address the issue, which hopefully you can have ready from January. Doesn't mean you can't begin your back operations on that, but we should have at least the framework in general terms that we're deferring to a student committee to present those options to us by the end of the year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Belmont, can I just say?
Yeah, hold on.
Because,
Hold on.
the other thing I think would be important is when you're having the person reflect on what they're doing, I'd like them to like have watched a couple of these.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
just certain things. What I'm always impressed with when a new board member comes, and you can all talk about this, it's really complex. Like this is what you see. Like just that simple thing I just did. I'm not a board member. You all know me. I'm Dr. Lynch. I'm thing. I have to ask permission to speak right now because I'm not a board member. There is a way that this board governs itself under Robert's rules, and so there's actually a manner. It's an actual legislature. And I just think sometimes it's I know Mr. Murray because he's in the community. But to truly understand that you're joining a legislature, now granted not with a voting member, but it's a serious responsibility. I think that's and when you start to see some of the issues the district's facing from the complex side, I think all of you can agree that it was easier when you didn't have this. So I just would love to get people's thoughts on that.
Yeah, just the other side of it, Ms. Gray, it really is. I think back when I was, class of '84, I was president of the high school. We had nothing like this. I mean, just the proposal you meant. If I was doing it back then, I would have said, yeah, we'll pick somebody and send them up to you. So I don't think you really appreciate just how impressive it is to have that type of process. And in my 18 years on the board, I've always complained about apathy. I mean, our voter turnout is really small all the time. It's always great. They always vote yes. We always get things approved. But there's always going to be that small segment of our society that is doing what you four chose to do. You didn't have to do something, even if, well, really it was Mr. Cornicella's wife. She hit me up the minute that meeting was over. She ran up to me in the parking lot and said, "Oh, I know how you guys should do this." So the fact that you got involved in doing this is hopefully something you stay involved with your whole lives. I mean, all the way through, because being involved in your community is so important. It's just not something a lot of percentage of people do. So really, from the idea you had to putting your time into it and coming up with a pretty impressive process, I think I commend you for that, and we look forward to seeing the results of it. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Regionalization, the reason you're all here today, there's been new developments. Dr. Lynch will luckily discuss that with you.
Thank you, Mr. Belmont. So when last time we were here, the board had a robust discussion and came upon a couple of different procedures. So really they had directed me that, as was the Regents regulation at the time, we were to submit our strength and needs tool, and I was to become part of the convenings, which is the formal name for those processes. Since then, last night or yesterday afternoon, the Board of Regents met, and they amended the regulation. So the regulation now makes it a completely voluntary process for boards to partake in. So they clarified the language. The big word that we all objected to was the word compel. So the word compel has come out, and they've now put in the word request. They've also said that, basically everything is subject to the jurisdiction of the board. So that change happened yesterday. So rather than submit the strength and needs tool on the 6th of December, we made a judgment call that it would be a good idea to have the board weigh in light of the new Regents regulation. So at this point, I'd like you to reconsider whether your last instruction to me was submit the strength and needs tool and participate in the convenings. Is that still the board's position at this time?
Due to the fact that, making this thing optional doesn't make it any clearer in my mind. So there are no parameters or criteria, as far as I can tell, that lets us know what this is going to be used for. So for me personally, I still don't think it's a good idea that we should partake in this, be involved in this. Until we have an idea of what this entails and what our responsibility is if we decide to submit, I have no desire to submit. And I think we should have nothing to do with it until they're clearer about what it is exactly.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Paleski. In fact, in my other role that I get paid for, I had to work on said survey. And frankly, the questions were very detailed to the point of really trying to uncover things that I don't know that if other schools aren't doing it and we are doing it, are we saying things to the state that are negative about us that we don't need to do, or whatever the case might be? And I don't see it helping us. And since it's not helping us and it's not required, I don't see the need to ask Dr. Lynch to do it.
Yeah,
Dr. Lynch,
I'll
what
join.
are your colleagues in the quadrant saying?
Everyone is almost at the same spot right now. They're probably all having a meeting with their board as we speak. So I will know more next week when I meet with them. But that is almost at the same. It's also irrelevant, but that is there is I think they're exactly where we are.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just join with what Mr. Pileski and Mr. Murray said. I think the way this was rolled out by the state gives me a lot of concern. First, they create an emergency by, threatening to drastically cut foundation aid. Then they roll out, oh, we have the solution. You'll just do this regionalization thing. It's great. It's the only solution to the problem that we're creating right now. And then they tell everyone it's optional, but the language doesn't say anything close to that. The language is mandatory. And when they're called on it repeatedly by almost every district in the county, all of a sudden they change it and now it's optional. Personally, that gives me real pause to want to participate in this at all. This is like one of the few issues that I've seen that seems to have unanimous agreement between the board, members of the faculty, LTA, members of the community, and I think we should stay strong to where we were before. We wrote a letter to the New York State expressing our dissatisfaction with this. I think we should stand by that, and we should stay out of it. And certainly we should stay out of it until we know more. To sign up for something where you don't know what's going to happen, just to me is a risk we don't need to take.
And I'm going to echo that if I can. I think we always want the students here to be three things: thoughtful, forward-thinking, and responsible. And for me, it's a hard no. The state rolled it out with so much ambiguity, so much, of this overarching threat that you no longer have a choice in this, to now roll it back and say, oh, no, we didn't mean that. It's actually optional. I think it's like not doing your homework, and to throw our hats in the ring. And as Mr. Murray said, no, I want to know, if we were to submit it, what are the consequences? What are the ramifications? There were no ramifications for not submitting it. What if we do? I say no.
I also say no, and in addition, I agree with everybody up here. I just want to say that anything they say that this plan could accomplish are things that we do already without submitting this plan to the state. So I see absolutely no point to be their test guinea pigs.
So I think you have your consensus there, Dr. Lynch.
That couldn't be clearer. I mean, I will say one thing. I was talking to the PTA today. I think it's a shame that it got rolled out the way it did, because these types of conversations in another context may have been productive. But I just think, as you are indicating, there's a poison in the well, and I guess there's no way of getting back from that position. So you made that really easy. That's sorry, Dr. Belekas, you had to do all that work, but that's what it is. I guess you have the same thing. You have the same thing. Yeah. So we have that thing, but again, we have some thoughts to do, and again, we can. I would say we have great relationships with our neighboring districts. Those superintendents and our counterparts, we're called the Southwest Quad. We get along well. We talk together all the time, and so maybe there could be good conversations, but voluntary conversations. So that makes some sense. I would want it. So here's what we're discussing. It's back what we were just talking to the kids. It's like we're now getting into the nitty-gritty of what has to legally happen for us to opt out. So the date that the commissioner has set is we have an obligation to let state ed know by January the 25th. My read of the regulation is it's a letter from me, but if you think it needs to be a resolution, it's a
That's fine, so if you get us just your draft of us, and we could do that we'll do it by the January meeting.
Okay, January meeting will pass, so that
Okay.
they just decided that we will pass a formal resolution that opts the district out of it. And that actually makes sense, because then it is on the public record. You know, that is forever and ever.
The regulations call for the board to entertain the decision. Once the decision is made, you're authorized to notify state ed. So I believe there has to be a formal resolution. And frankly, even if you weren't sure about it, I think you'd be
No.
better off, because that way the board is on record as having made a decision.
Okay, that makes sense. Yep. Can we roll this into our next conversation so that there's, because we're discussing all the stuff from.
You could do Blue Ribbon and Foundation.
Yeah, so there is one thing, so this is the regulation that was passed last night, and along with it, there are a bunch of answers to questions. They heard from 9,000 people on the issue, just so you know, that's what they heard. There's one line that I want everyone to, because here's what I think we have the danger of doing. All the political energy is over here looking at regionalization. The real problem is foundation aid, is the fact that they're about to mess with the formula that funds the schools. I think one of the things you're suspicious of, they haven't said whether those two things are connected, but that's the question. So I just want to read something that is in attachment B in the assessment of public comment. So it is, why did you do this as an emergency regulation? That's a great question that everybody had. So they say it's a moot point now because it's no longer an emergency regulation. But watch what their rationale for the emergency regulation was. As indicated in the department's response to comment 10, it is imperative that the discussions begin now, as reductions in state aid could be catastrophic for some school districts. That was not rescinded. They are almost acting like the legislature, it's a foregone conclusion that the legislature is not going to be funding schools appropriately. And that's why they passed the emergency regulation. So we need to still, it's nice that the board has now made a decision. We're not a member of regionalization. We really need to be in the battle for foundation aid. So what happened last week is you all read the document, it's a really long, 350 pages, and they all had, again, it's complicated, they all had a copy of this document, and the Rockefeller Institute came out with suggestions of things that could be helpful in funding schools. Quite frankly, in my analysis of the document, some of the stuff would be great for Lynbrook. One of the things they are suggesting is right now they're using a funding formula from 2007. So they're suggesting to update that and give more money per child based on the current status of the world. One thing I loved was they want to update the way that we measure poverty, because they're using figures that measure poverty from 2007. I don't think I need to tell anyone in this community that that is just not the right measure anymore. And then also it's what we use to measure poverty. So if we use our free and reduced number, that's 16%. Right now, the state of New York knows exactly what you all make because you all fill out your state taxes and you all put your district number on it. So we know that our actual poverty number is 22%. So shouldn't they be funding us more fairly at the 22 rather than the 16%? That would be a good change in the law. Another great change in the law is they want to look at English language learners. So we know that all English language learners are not the same. Some people, we have children who literally arrived 2 weeks ago who don't speak a word of English. They require intensive support in a way that right now they treat all L's the same and they fund it the same. This funding formula would give us, and that is our case. We have the same number of L's we've always had, but our L's need is greater. So that would drive aid for us. So these are the things, and we had a good conversation at PTA this morning, that we need to get behind legislatively, because what it says in the document, they present all this menu to the public, and then it says, of course we know the state can't do all of this because it will bankrupt the state. It's basically too expensive to do. So we need to be in the game, and I'm happy to say thank you to the board members who are here that we have engaged our legislators. So last Monday, Assemblywoman-elect Griffin walked through West End and North, and we pointed out some of our more expensive programs. Tomorrow, Senator Kenzaneri Fitzpatrick will be walking through West End and North. Those are the people that represent us, that need to be in the fight for us to say this. I just think sometimes people have an image. And what I've been saying to and Mr. Murray, you were there, and Ms. Aragon, Mr. Murray, are going to be there tomorrow. When people have an image, especially in the city of New York and the Big Five, and in Buffalo and in Syracuse, of what a suburban Long Island district looks like, they think you're eating sushi and walking on rainbows out here because Long Island is so privileged. That is the amazing work that we do in this district and what our teachers do in this district. And it's expensive. And I think they're looking at it the wrong way. Where was security 5 years ago or in 2007? None. We're now spending $700,000 to $1 million a year just on security. Where was our cost of special education in the last 5 years have increased $6 million? Social workers, psychologists. Is anyone in this district going to say, oh yeah, mental health, we don't really need to do that anymore? In a post-COVID world, how are we making sure that our kids are okay? This great Northwell partnership that we just started, all of that costs money, and if they're not aiding the right things, we're going to be left in the dust. And what I'm afraid, Mr. Press gave a performance. It wasn't really a performance. It was a presentation in September, and what he showed this, and I want you to go back to the website. You can see it. It's still on the website. It showed that the way we funded the current budget that we're operating on right now is simply by bringing down reserves. And if you think about your savings account at home, you can only do that for so long. You can only hit, take a loan from the 403B, we'll pay it back someday. You can only do that so many times. There has to be a radical change to foundation aid, and I'm worried that the governor, she has said, oh, there'll be no cuts to education. That's not good enough for this district. No cuts is a decrease. And I think we all need to understand that if we don't get them radically looking at the way they fund schools, it's not sustainable. And this is not just us. I've been saying this to the legislatures that were here. It's East Rockaway, it's Malvern, it's Rockville Center, it's Hewlett, it's everyone in this corner of Nassau County. We all kind of have the same
Do you
problem.
have in addition to on the website, do we have anywhere on our website the costs for our unfunded mandates?
It's not on the website, but we can certainly put
So
that
I think
up.
that if people are going to start paying attention, we put that out. And the other thing, as long as we're doing talking points, is it's not just a question of what it costs to do it. We don't get our fair share back of what we put in. So that's a huge issue. When you look at what we're taxed here and what we put into the coffers in Albany, we don't get our fair share back. And what could be a fair way to do that? And in addition to that, the unfunded mandates are just things they're telling us to do we don't need to do, but they're not paying us to do those things. So the first thing they should do if they're having issues with money is get rid of those unfunded mandates and let us decide on our own how to run our school districts.
So that is kind of the report on foundation aid, and I just think, we had a good conversation with PTA, and I know they're ready to do advocacy with us, and I guess Mr. Cornicello said there's a whole 20 watching right now in TV land. We would love everyone out there to also start to get, we need to be politically active because it's a change, is really a change.
Dr. Lynch, have you spoken with your colleagues in other districts in this quadrant who are similarly situated, the kind of middle income, middle tiered financially districts, to see whether they'd be interested in working with us for advocacy? Because, Lynbrook's a great district, but we're small, and politicians work in the world of numbers of voters. We don't have that many voters in this community. But if we partner with Malvern and East Rockaway and Hewlett and Lawrence and 6 or 7 others, that does become a very large voting bloc.
We had a great, I would say we had a great legislative forum last month at Malvern High School where all the districts were present. Mrs. Aragona was there, Mrs. Danino was there,
Right.
and no legislators were there.
Right.
Assemblywoman-elect Griffin was there, Assemblyman Brown, who covers a little bit at the park down by Waverly Park, was there, and a representative of Solange's was there. But there were 2 legislators and 1 chief of staff that was there. And I think, Ms. Aragona, Mrs. Danino, if you want to talk a little bit about what we all have the same concerns that was there.
Yeah, everybody kind of vocalized their same concerns. I think it was also apparent that, people need to get vocal and loud, and voters need to get vocal and loud, and we have to write letters and make a presence, otherwise nothing's really going to change. That's kind of what I took away from it.
So is that,
I mean, talking about advocacy for this, one of the things, just like we wrote the letter about regionalization, I think it would be nice if maybe we took the charge here and wrote a letter based off of the Rockefeller report and the thing that we went to, and maybe asked all of the people in the Southwest Quadrant, because I know from where I work, and I'm sure Sean from where he works, that everyone does have these same concerns. And if we asked, everyone feels the same way, from administration, I would imagine, as a teacher and as a board member, and maybe we can get all these constituent groups, the PTA, to all write letters, and we can work together just like people are doing in other instances, and we can really get some momentum here.
yeah, that would be great. I mean, one thing that was very impressive about the regionalization letter is it was co-signed by PTA and LTA. And I think we might have been the only district whose letter was co-signed by all stakeholder groups. As Mr. Kirschenberg will say, we don't always agree, but the fact that we signed the same letter, we agree. And this just basic funding of this district is in mutual concern, and PTA would tell you the same exact thing.
Right, so I think that's something, maybe we can all work on together and make it a community effort and get other communities to join in with us.
And I'm just looking at Mr. Cornicello. We got lots of 18-year-olds in the building also. Like they're voters. They are voters. Like, they are voters. That's the, because that's what we heard. If they don't hear from the voters, they're just going to let it be.
Yeah, the key is just figuring out a way to, letter writing is great, but that doesn't make the media, right? Because they're individual letters, and I think they disregard them and they put them in the circular file, as they call it. But I think that if there's a way that we could publicly join, and we have even people on this board and in this room in the audience have so many connections to other districts, right? Whether it's board members or people through LTA, if we could all reach out with, in advance of our next board meeting to see what other districts may have interest in doing something a little bit more public. A joint letter on behalf of 7 districts. That would be something great. During COVID, whatever side of the aisle people were on, people took up arms, and all the districts worked together, and people, writing against mandates, writing for mandates. I don't care which side you're on, but people knew how to do it. This is actually just as scary. I mean, this foundation aid is a real problem for this whole quadrant. So maybe that's something we should all do and be prepared to, try to talk on in advance of the next board meeting.
I know one of the local districts has like a legislative breakfast every year. I don't know if we could do something where after we start this, we have almost like a rally or something here where we host all these other districts and get local PTAs involved and get parents, because I think that would more, and get our local legislators involved, because after this week, they will have toured our buildings and they will see the needs firsthand, and it will be good for everybody, and it can really, get the media involved and see. That might be a way to go about it.
Yes, I think we could act on that. There was the idea of actually having the legislators come to the building came from Lynbrook. That was Mrs. Danino who brought that up at the legislative forum, and we basically held their feet to the fire that you have to come to, because they don't know, they've never been inside one of our buildings. That's a problem, and you're representing us.
You want to do blue ribbon now?
Sure, I'll do blue ribbon also. So, talking about blue ribbon, there's not a lot of action out of Albany yet on this, but I think we all can read the tea leaves of where it's going. So I know that there have been lots of discussions. I know Mr. Sarosi has been already kind of thinking of what the impact of this will look like on Lynbrook High School. I know the middle school principals have been looking at what the impact of that. The current 7th graders are going to be, part of this. So I think it's important that we start to advertise that January 22nd Board of Education work session, because what we do on that night is, and last year we had 5 people in the audience, so it would be good to start advertising it now. That's where we're going to be announcing the big programmatic changes for next year. I don't know what they are yet because they're still in the planning stage. I know we started to message it to parents when they came in for their scheduling. When the 8th graders came in to schedule their high school world, it was like, here's your schedule. It is subject somewhat to change. There might be some things that are going on because we know where this is going and we want to be ready for it. We're already ahead of the game when it comes to the profile of the graduate, and we want to be ahead of the game of just the logical stuff we know that's coming down the line. Micro-credentialing, we know is coming down the line. The ability, I'm happy to say, I'll save from the report, from the profile of the OWL, we're already starting to working on the writing curriculum. And that's something that's, going to be important. So we're already moving. We're not waiting for them to make the decision. We're already moving.
Thank you, Dr. Lynch. We're going to move back to reports from trustees. Mr. Murray, Facilities Committee.
Thank you. The Facilities Committee has met a couple of times already this fall to gather information from Mr. Press and from Mr. Seda on our capital improvement needs. There are several projects that are going to have to be prioritized. Obviously, we can't afford everything all at the same time. And as always, we're putting health and safety first, and projects that are going to improve student learning make their way to the top of that list. So we have a couple more meetings that we need to have in the coming months, and then we'll present recommendations both to the full board and to the community for consideration, and then final decisions on which improvements to make in what order.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Ms. Aragona, Policy Committee.
I was going to take that one too, unless she wants to.
Okay. That's fine. You got the mic.
So the Policy Committee, we met to discuss updates to some policies, most of which are based on changes to state or federal law. We are going to be ready for some of those first readings in January of those policy changes. There are some more complex policies that we started discussing in committee, and we have to keep working on them, and they'll be ready for first readings a little bit later in the spring.
Mr. Lunar, PTA.
So I have a save the date. The PTA Council is currently planning Founders Day. That's going to be held on February 10th of this coming year. So for those who are interested, please hold that date. If you're not familiar, the Founders Day, it's a really nice, wonderful evening where all the PTA units recognize and celebrate people in the school community whose contributions really had a positive effect on the school and the students. So for those who are interested, make sure you save that date. And if you want to have any involvement, reach out to your local PTA rep or to your school's PTA rep.
Thank you. Anything else from the board members? Anything else to present or any events you've been to?
I just wanted to say I went to the musical, I guess it was a couple of weeks ago, and it was absolutely fantastic. The kids on stage, the pit, the scenery, absolutely everything. I think, honestly, in addition to the kids being so talented, you could really tell how much fun they were having on stage, and the energy was like almost infectious. And it was just so great to see the kids have such a great time, and the show was so good, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Great job.
Thank you, Ms. Sarah. Got anything else on the board? Also, is there a representative from PTA Council here? I think oh, thank you. So we wanted to, Terry, boy, this is not your night. Wanted to have our annual meeting with you. Is January 22nd a good date? Perfect, so we'll put that in the calendar. We'll do that the night before our work session. And Dr. Lynch, moving on to Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Belmont. So the board goal update, I kind of already gave. Goal 1 is the profile of the owl, and it's really the work of implementing it now. And the big news there was out of Superintendent's Conference Day. We've already started. I know today we have people signed up for the Writing Revolution training. I think like almost 70 teachers have signed up district-wide for that training. So that's us hitting the ground running with that one. So that's kind of the big one for Goal 1. Goal 2, which is the MTSS, the multi-tiered system of supports. I see Mrs. Boyce out there. So we meet regularly with a PTA subcommittee about implementing, what supports kids. Every kid needs, some kids need, and then kids with most need. And so one thing we had a really great conversation was to get their input on, we do something called universal screening at the elementary schools, and we ask kids basically about their social emotional readiness for learning. And what we discussed with the PTA subcommittee was what we want to do is get very transparent about what we are doing with that so that parents know what types of questions we're asking their kids. And we talked to them about really doing, when we do this screening 3 times a year, every time we're going to send with it, I'm just seeing Mrs. Curran there, I don't think I got to tell you this, so really send that, there's a handout of what this is, what it's all about, and here's the questions that we're asking your kids. So you kind of can know what's going on. So that was kind of a good outcome, and that's going to be a really hard-working committee. There's stuff that we need to talk about. We had a great PTA parent university last month. That's, all of that is coming part of the social emotional learning. So that's Goal 2. And Goal 3, communications. So I just want to give an update on how we're doing with Parent Square. So what we're learning is that you prefer to be texted. That's kind of what we're figuring out. So we have 98% of our parents are currently with phones and are signed up. 96% have opted to receive texts, and 96% are receiving texts. 97% of those people receive the texts via digest form, which means you kind of get it once a day and it summarizes everything. A little more disappointing, but I don't think it stops our ability to talk to you. The app is only, right now, only 55% of our parents have downloaded the app. You can get everything you need via the text, but the app just gives you more functionality. So I think we may need to do a bigger push on that. But I have no concerns when it comes to calling a snow day or an emergency. I think we know how to get you, and you will be getting that message. So that was, I think, kind of good news. And interesting on the app, 98% of those who have installed the app get notifications instantly, so they don't wait for the digest. So that's just kind of interesting. So that's where we're at with the board goals. The second thing is, so while we welcome one assembly person, an outgoing assembly person, tonight the board will be accepting a $20,000 bullet aid from outgoing Assemblyman Brian Curran, who was able to give us $20,000 to fund the new esports program here at the high school. So we thank the former Assemblyman for all that he's done for the district. Fire inspections. We had our fire inspections, and Mr. Seda, things were good. Minor infractions is what I'm hearing basically, but we have our certificates of occupancy, so that's what really matters. And on that note, I want to hand it over to Dr. Balekas on the writing program.
Thank you, Dr. Lynch. While Mr. Larkin gets the video queued up, I just wanted to say, as Dr. Lynch had mentioned earlier, writing is a goal across the district. And anybody that's taught kindergarten knows everything good in learning begins in kindergarten. So our kindergartners 3 months into school produce the work that you're going to see today. So at the very beginning of the video, you'll see a little bit about their lesson. This is an early adopter. This is Mrs. Chang from the Kindergarten Center and her lovely class. They will show you what the lesson looks like, but at the very end, I want you to take a look at that writing. And like I said, for kids that have been here for 3 months and you could read their sentences, it's pretty impressive. Mr. Larkin, whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Now, we know when we are speaking, we are learning to speak and write in full. Who could tell me? What are we working on right now? Charlie, what are we working on? Right? We are working on writing and speaking in full sentences. That's right. And we learned that every sentence has a who and a what they are doing. That's right. So we are going to take a look at some of the pictures from our story, and we are going to talk about the who and the what they are doing. Who is in this picture? Eliana, who is that? The horse. That's right. Say the sound so I can write the word horse. This is the spelling for or. Horse. Very good. We have the horse. Who else is in this picture? Ford.
The police officer.
The police officer. Can you say the sound so I can write the word police? Kirby, what is the policeman doing?
Riding the horse.
The policeman is riding the horse. That's right. That's right. So we have the who and the what he is doing. Who could put that in a full sentence for us? Isabella, can you put those parts into a whole sentence for us? The police is on a horse. Nice job, friends. Now, if I'm writing a sentence, what are the 3 things that a sentence needs? What is one thing that a sentence needs, Isabella?
A period at the end.
A punctuation mark at the end, that's right. What else does a sentence need, Matthew?
Spaces between words.
Spaces between, that's right. And what is the last thing that a sentence needs, Quinn? What do we have to do at the beginning of a sentence? Start with an uppercase letter. So, Sonia said, the police, can you say it again for us?
The police is on a horse.
Let's count those words. The police is on a horse. All right, the first, is that a full sentence? Does it say who? Does it tell you what it's doing? Does it make sense? So is it a full sentence? Yes. Nice job, friends.
What you're looking at now, they're writing captions for the book. There's a couple of different versions that you just saw. Some are written entirely by students, some are modified, so the ones in that in-between slide had sentence starters for the kids that needed them. But the important thing for us to realize with all the stuff that we're talking about here, writing obviously is a progression, and we're starting, these kids are here 3 months, like I said. They're starting to write sentences. You could read those. These are things that you can understand, which is kind of cool. And the part about the writing revolution, this is writing revolution work with kindergarten. We're going to be doing writing revolution work from kindergarten to 12th grade. What's the nice part? They're getting introduced to structures. They're getting introduced to the same language that they're going to be using the entire time they're in our system. What will happen is we'll expand from here, but it's all those basic foundational skills are being built right away, which is kind of cool.
Any questions from the board? That's so. I, as an old English teacher, this is subject predicate work. I mean, this is back to basics. This is writing. This is Mr. Kirschenberg, your 11th graders have a big challenge there, right? Yeah. No, it is just amazing. And again, this is our next logical step after reading and writing our thing. And I know, that we're very excited about this program. And I have to say, the teachers are excited about the program too, and not just the English teachers. So I know science and social studies have all signed up for it. So that's some great stuff. So thank you very much, Dr. Balekis. And then Mr. Press for capital projects.
Quick update on capital projects. They're we're really, I think I said this last month, we're still in a bit of a holding pattern. There is a resolution on the agenda tonight, which is part of the process for the next projects that we have on tap. Those are the restroom projects. So there's an environmental resolution on the agenda tonight. Once the board approves that, I can send the submission documents back to the architect, who can submit them to the state, so we can start the process to get the approval to get that done. Outside of that, there are not really any big active projects on the capital project front at the moment. Thank you.
All set.
Thank you all. This time we'll open up the microphone for public comment. If anyone would like to address the board, please come up to the podium, identify yourself, and indicate if you live in or out of district.
Ivy Riley, in district. I cannot speak on behalf of the PTA Council because I can't give an opinion without a directed vote, but I am a member of Nassau Region PTA and a member of the governance team of National PTA. So what I can say is that, as you all know, PTA is been around for 128 years, and they are the largest child advocacy group in the country, and we're already doing a lot of these things that you've been talking about all night, as far as meeting with our legislators regularly, and we have a number of different legislative conferences that occur. We were actually just talking with the admins today about some of them that are coming up, and I would hate to see us recreate the wheel when they're already happening. I love the idea of bringing something local, because one of the best conferences that we go to, that I go to every year, that I was suggesting others come to, is the one in Longwood, because it just gets such great attendance for the speakers and from the information that we get. But Nassau Region PTA does one, New York State PTA does one, National PTA does one. Floral Park did one last year the same day as National and Nassau Region PTA, so it conflicted. So we don't want to do. We want to be careful because it's a very short window. January 21st is the day that I guess the legislators come out with their proposals, and then we have until April 1st or whatever to go and speak. But there's also within all of that the legislative conferences where we meet and speak to the legislators and ask them questions and get information. We also have specific. We organize different teams and groups. So I know that you said that you don't know of any, Mr. Lunar, that, but we do in Nassau County, which is Nassau Region. Nassau Region is comprised of Nassau County and some of Queens for PTA, and we do group together with our neighboring districts and go and meet with our representatives at least once, probably 3 or 4 times before or during that season. And I know Tara's come with us and Leslie has come with us a number of times. So we do this on a regular basis. So what we would love to do is just partner with you and just invite you and say, hey, we're already doing this. Like, come on, help us get the numbers, help us get more people involved. Letter writing campaigns don't necessarily work unless we have a lot of letters. So if we give out a letter and we can send it through the school district or however we do it, that really emphasizes that we need the funding, that our foundation aid was not given back to us. It was restored for 1 year, and it was still just money we were owed, and we still have unfunded mandates, and we're still going to have more things that we have to spend money on. I think that last month's conversation about regionalization and the letter that was sent out by the Board of Ed that was signed by everyone is just a great beginning of a partnership, and I would love to see us continue to collaborate that way. So I am happy to continue to give information to anybody and have, ask questions, and I can, if I don't know the answer, I'll get you a resource, I'll get you answers through PTA about a lot of these things. But you have a lot of resources, I have a lot of resources, LTA has a lot of resources, like we should all be working together. So I love what has been happening at this table in the last couple of months. It's really what we're all about here. The other thing is, I agree with the consensus about regionalization after going to the New York State PTA convention and hearing from the New York State Department of Education. I felt angry, for lack of other words, that there's such a lack of transparency, and we were told that we're recreating a false narrative, but you can't create a false narrative when you have no information to create it with. So what we were doing was asking for information. And we were asking, why is it mandatory? We don't even know what we're getting into. So I think that it is, exactly what this community has been saying. You are representing us well in this way, that we don't want to get into something that we don't know what we're getting into and we're going to end up paying for. So thank you for protecting us in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ron.
And thank you for the work you're doing in that regard as well.
Moving on with the meeting, we have a donation. The board gratefully acknowledges and accepts a commission of $1,752 from Shutterfly Life Touch LLC to be used for the purposes of purchasing instructional supplies at the Lynbrook High School. I'd like to ask for consent agenda and resolutions 2412C1 through 2412C10, 2412NC1 through 2412NC2, and 2412G1 through 2412G29. May I have a motion, please? Mr. Murray, second. Mrs. Dinino, all in favor? May I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? Mrs. Kelly, second. Mr. Luna, all in favor? Okay, our next meeting is January 8th. Everyone stay safe. Enjoy the holiday season.